within the street TS started telling them about us because, you know, we was from the block.
OPD says a 24-year-old Lincoln man died from his injuries. According to a GoFundMe and an adult film production company, the man has been identified as Savion Hopkins.
A whole lot of frustration was on my mind. I was hungry.
That's why my motherfucking son wasn't fucking with them no more.
Tonight on Dark Hood Tales, we have a special treat for you guys. Tonight will be a two-part story about rapper FBG Duck, so kick back and relax. Get your snacks and smoke ready because we're going to 63rd and St. Lawrence. Carlton Weekly, also known as FBG Duck, was born on December 6, 1993 in Chicago, Illinois. He was his mother's third-born child. His mother, Lashina, had Duck's older brother Jermaine when she was only 15 years old. But when 3 years later, she gave birth to Duck and would later give birth to several more children. In the early 90s, while hanging out in Idle B. Wells, Brick and Lashina's second-born were outside playing when a shootout took place right near them. A pregnant Lashina panics and dives on her kids to keep them from getting shot and ends up having a miscarriage. Duck's father is a guy by the name of Carl. According to our sources in Chicago, Carl was a gangster disciple from the Ida B. Wells homes. Carl was only on the streets for 17 years of his life before going to prison. Unfortunately, when Duck was only 6 weeks old, a 17-year-old Carl goes to prison and ended up being incarcerated Duck's whole life. He was accused of committing some awful crimes. Crimes we can't talk about in this documentary. Lashina and her 8 siblings grew up in Ida B. Wells, living with their grandmother. The Ida B. Wells homes was once one of the most dangerous housing projects in Chicago. The Weekly family was well known. Lashina and her sisters were known for fighting. Anytime their brothers had an issue with females, they went and got their sisters. When Duck was born, Lashina lived in the Ida B. Wells homes. Duck comes from a huge family. He had many aunts, uncles and cousins all over the city. Some even say that he has one of the largest families in Chicago. According to Lashina, her grandmother was the caregiver of the family. She had 9 children, including Lashina's mother. Altogether, Lashina and her 8 siblings had 57 children. Living in the Ida B. Wells homes was a good time for the family. Although they struggled, they still had each other. By the time Lashina was 22 years old, she had 5 children. Her and the kids mostly lived with her grandmother. Sometimes there were 17 people all living in a 3-bedroom apartment. Duck, his older brothers, and all of his cousins were taught to have each other backs no matter what. Lashina gave him the nickname Chunky Duck when he was younger because he was chubby and had poked out lips. While Duck was playing with his cousins and friends, Jermaine was running the streets with other bad kids. He began getting arrested when he was only 10 years old. At the time, Lashina was addicted to crack cocaine. Back in the 80s and 90s, crack was the #1 drug in America. Millions of black families suffered the crack epidemic, especially in the 80s. Lashina even watched her mother struggle with the drug. If it wasn't for Lashina's grandmother, her children would have most likely been in foster care. Jermaine continued getting in trouble. Shoplifting and fighting kept him and out of the juvenile detention. Jermaine later attended Inglewood High School and played on the baseball team. By 2005, Jermaine was deep in the streets.
These old buildings, they've displaced the African American people in Chicago, and they're all over here, and they're gonna rezone this and make them condos so that middle class and upper class people can move, because as you can see straight ahead, we have the what you call them? Lake Meadows apartments right by the lake.
In 2002, the Ida B. Wells homes began getting prepared for demolishing and tenants were forced to move out. This is when the Weekly family moved from the low end and Lasheena's grandmother gets custody of her children. Duck spent a lot of time with his grandmother. He enjoyed staying in the house at the time. 2007 was a dark year for the Weekleys. First, Lasheena's grandmother gets real ill and could no longer take care of the children. Duck had went to stay with a close friend of Lasheena's. Tafra and Lasheena were so close that they called each other sisters. At the time, Tafra lived at 6347 St. Lawrence along with her son, Rodney, later known as Boss Trell. Jermaine had to fend for himself. He pretty much slept wherever he could. Lasheena and her daughters moved into an apartment. That same year, her 2-month-old son, Antonio, died at a family member's house. According to Lasheena, one of the family members had accidentally suffocated the child by sleeping on him. This was Lasheena's second time losing a child, and sadly, it wouldn't be the last. Jermaine was now a drug dealer and an active gang member. At the time, Jermaine was a frontline soldier for a black disciple gang who went by the name Beam Team. He continued going to jail. In 2007, he went to jail for possession of heroin. According to Jermaine, he ran with only older guys and even worked for them. Duck would eventually become friends with Young, Dutchie, and other people in the neighborhood. Him, Young, and Dutchie went to school together. Duck and Dutchie were in the same classes. Young is a few years younger. He had classes with people such as Prince Dre. Although Chicago was just as dangerous back then, it was still a peaceful time for the teenagers. They would often play football and basketball. Duck was new to the neighborhood, but everyone took a liking to him. His closest friends were now Dutchie and Young. The three began hanging out every day. In October of 2007, Duck and his sister went around looking for Lasheena to get money for food. Lasheena had just cashed in the last of her food stamps for cash. Duck and his sister walks up and tell her that they are hungry. That broke Lasheena down. She immediately went to get help. By the summer of 2008, Lasheena was clean and ready to work. She began working at a cafe, making $6.25 an hour. This was her first time taking a job seriously. That same year, she moved to 6607 Rhodes. Although Lasheena was now sober and doing good, it was still a dark time for the family. Lasheena's grandmother died this same year. The whole family took her death hard, especially Duck. Like I said earlier, Duck was a granny's boy. Jermaine was now in jail for unlawful possession of a handgun. After living on Rhodes for only a year, Lasheena and the kids moved to Wabash Avenue. This is when Lasheena became close to Duck's friends. People such as Young, Dutchie, Bostrell, K.I. Butter, King Lil J and many others began hanging out at her apartment. Jaro City was becoming the biggest gang in the neighborhood. Duck was pretty much cool with every gang at the time. A gangster disciple gang by the name of Boss City once ran 63rd and St. Lawrence. But around 2008, they began fading away. The guys who came up under Boss City had started a mostly GD gang by the name of EBT.
This a video. It's a video.
Oh, it's a video? Hey, what that video is? Hey, cut that video off. We just up here politicking. You know, we have to make up here. But we gonna make that shit real proper next time you see it. So when we go on the block, shit, just holler when we got 2 for 30.
Young Money was a huge, mostly BD gang located only blocks away. Duck was cool with many of the Young Money members. He was also cool with many THF 46 members. Lasheena's younger sister's son is THF Raheem. Many of the young gangs got along back then. They played sports and even attended the same parties. Things wouldn't start to get ugly until 2009. Around this time, a new kid moved into the neighborhood. Shondell Gregory, also known as Tuka, was the new kid on the block. Just like many of the teens in the neighborhood, Tuka came from the low end. Lashina and Tuka's mother had been friends for years. At first, Duck and the other kids gave Tuka a hard time in the neighborhood, but later became his friends. Although Tuka was a few years younger than Duck, the two had become close. The young gangs in the neighborhood began feuding for basically nothing. The Young Money Boys was a young black disciple gang who was trying to make a name for themselves. They were only located a few blocks away. The Young Money Boys began coming on EBT's turf looking for trouble, picking fights with the younger guys. People such as Seaball and Dutchie were basically following EBT until STL was established. At first, the teenagers would only get into gang brawls, but the Young Money Boys began coming with members of Trap City outnumbering the young guys on the block. This is when EBT members gave them guns to use. When YMB came back, they were shot at and forced to retreat, but it wouldn't be long before they returned with guns of their own shooting up the block. Shootouts began taking place daily. YMB came to the block, shooting so much that the EBT members had to get involved. One day, when YMB and Trap City came shooting up the block, a EBT member finger was shot off while he was trying to protect the block. This is when EBT began going after the YMB members. On May 21, 2009, 17-year-old Edric Tyshawn Walker, also known as Ty, was shot and killed by EBT. That same night, 3 other people were shot on 63rd of St. Lawrence. The Chicago police suspected that the 2 shootings were related. YMB changed their name to TYMB to honor Ty. STL was started around this time as well. By 2010, STL was an active street gang and only known for fighting. In the beginning, the 2 gangs were basically one. STL was led by Seaball and Dutchie. Other known members at the time were Duck, Young, Bostrel, Lil P, Tuka, and many other teenagers in the neighborhood. The gang loved to fight. Gang brawls didn't only take place in the neighborhood, but they took place at schools, shopping malls, and youth centers as well. Seaball was pretty much STL's leader. His close connection to EBT is what made the 2 gangs collab. Seaball was respected in the neighborhood. He comes from a black disciple family and is the uncle of KI. EBT was only known for shooting. They really protected their blocks. The war with TYMB was still on. In September of 2010, EBT allegedly shot and killed 14-year-old Christopher Travis, also known as Lil Chris. Lil Chris and other young TYMB members were hanging out on the 6400 block of South Evans, talking to females when a tan car pull up and fire shots. A 19-year-old was shot in the knee, a 12-year was shot in the ear and leg, and Lil Chris was shot in the back of the head. As you all can see, kids weren't off limits. Now let me explain how gang members look at children who gang bang. Once you're in, you're in. Ages don't matter when it's wartime. Kids are just as dangerous as adults with a gun. Probably twice as dangerous, because most likely you won't see them coming. Their brains aren't fully developed. So they're natural crash outs. Just keep that in mind throughout the rest of this documentary. TYMB needed help taking on EBT, so they clicked up with a few other BD gangs such as 600 and Wick City. This is when people like D Thang, Lil Boo, J Money and Odee Perry became a part of the war. Odee Perry was a loved member of 300. Many BD gangs in the neighborhood had his back. He had a close relationship with gangs such as Lamron, Blackgate, Front Street, Buff City and TYMB. Together, Wick City, 600 and TYMB all went to EBT, Jaro City and STL. Fighting was now becoming rare for the young gang members. Every gang but STL were now playing with guns. Only C-Ball and maybe a few other STL members were sliding with Jaro City and EBT. Although STL and EBT were two different gangs, other gangs and the CPD looked at them and Jaro City as one huge gang. They didn't mind going to Parkway Gardens to fight the young Wick City and 600 members. Duck was probably STL's best fighter. Some even say he never lost a fight. The 16-year-old was tall and slim at the time. Although he was slim, he was still strong, and he was a hard hitter. Tuka was also a good fighter. Him and Duck had each other backs. According to many people, Tuka carried around a small pocket knife. Not only was Tuka good with his hands, the 15-year-old was a good wrestler also, and even wrestled on his school's wrestling team. Tuka wasn't as innocent as many people thought he was. Other than fighting, Tuka did a lot of dissing on social media. He would often get into arguments with members of TYMB on Facebook. Weeks before he was killed, he dissed Lil Mo from Lamron, who was killed a year prior. Lil Mo was loved by many people. It wouldn't be a surprise if Tuka did play with guns. In Chicago, children younger than him were catching bodies. One thing we know for sure is that Tuka was a gang member. On January 12, 2011, 15-year-old Shondale Gregory, known as Tuka, was shot and killed while standing at the bus stop. Both TYMB and Wick City were allegedly behind this hit. According to Duck, he was at the gym playing basketball at the time Tuka was killed. People came running to inform Duck about Tuka. Duck ran to the crime scene to see his close friend lying dead on the freezing cold ground for hours. It was below 20 degrees that day. This was Duck's and many other STL members' first time losing a friend their age. Bostrel was allegedly one of the first STL members to play with guns. Although Bostrel was ready to put STL on the map, some EBT members didn't take him seriously. One of Bostrel's first guns was taken by baby Greg from EBT, but that only made the 15-year-old make more money and buy more guns. Around this time, Jermaine, now known as Brick, was released from jail and moved in with his mother, Lashina. The family was living on Wabash at the time. Duck was happy to have his big brother home. Brick immediately began claiming STL and hanging out in the neighborhood. Although Brick was Duck's big brother, he was still a new face in the neighborhood. He had to make a name for himself once again. Many of the younger gang members didn't know about Brick's life on the low end. He had allegedly already had a few bodies by this time. King Von wasn't an official Wick City member at this time. Although he lived in Parkway Gardens, he claimed a mostly GD set who went by the name Killer Ward. Many don't know that King Von and Duck were once friends. Von even hung out on STL EBT and Jaro City's turfs. He knew people like Butter, K.I., Seaball and Dutchie. Not only did Von and Duck go to Hyde Park School together, the two would often play basketball together in the neighborhood. One day, Butter and Von had gotten into an argument on a bus. Butter knew that Von been hanging out with Wick City and even secretly claiming the gang. Butter, who claimed Jaro City at the time, had family who lived in Parkway Gardens. Although Wick City was into it with STL and Jaro City, Butter still hung out in Parkway Gardens without a care. That day on the bus, Butter exposed King Von in front of many Jaro City and STL members. Butter and Von gets into a fight on the bus. According to many people who were there, including King Von, Butter won the fight. But that wasn't enough for a 15-year-old Butter. Him and many other STL, EBT and Jaro City members wanted King Von dead. People such as Model, Tutu, Twink and Brick were allegedly there as well. According to Butter, Brick wanted to shoot a young King Von. Luckily, members of Killer Ward were there to save him. From that day on, King Von hated Jaro City, STL and EBT. Him and Duck began getting into it at school after the bus incident. One day, Lashina had to come to Hyde Park to pick up Duck because him and King Von had gotten into a heated argument and were about to fight. The Flyboy gang was started by Young and Dutchie. Duck quickly became a part of the rap crew. In the beginning, it was only them three in the group. They started off rap, battling other rap groups at school. Flyboy gang, better known as FBG, became a big deal in the neighborhood. According to Duck, they went by the Flyboy gang because they were known to dress nice and steal the hearts of the females. Around this time, a young Letty Stelfie, also known as Billionaire Black, was living the neighborhood. Billionaire Black came from the low end and was a member of a black disciple gang by the name of Welch World. Him and Duck became close friends and began working on music together. Billy taught Duck a lot about making music. He had already been making music and was in a rap group who went by the name Buck 20 Brick Boys, so he knew how to organize songs and record. The Buck 20 Brick Boys was a popular underground rap group. When you talk about the birth of drill music, Buck 20 Brick Boys must be in the conversation. The group was formed back in 2009, and in 2010 they became the biggest underground rap group in Chicago with the help of Chicago-based video director D. Gines. When Duck and Billy first met, Brick was serving time in jail. Billy didn't even know that Duck and Brick were brothers. Back on the low end, Welch World and Beam Team were into it with each other. One day, Billy went to visit Duck and runs into Brick. Billy panics and runs home to get his gun. Brick later told Billy that he no longer had any issues with him due to him being Duck's friend and that he appreciated him helping Duck out with the music. Duck had caught on quick. He knew that becoming a rapper would make him and his family lives better. More inspiration came in April of that year when both Chief Keef and E-Day released music videos on YouTube. First E-Day released What Up, and then weeks later, Chief Keef released Do It For My Town. Both videos quickly reached tens of thousands of views. That same month, S. from 600 released Hustle Hard, featuring E-Day and Chief Keef. The BDs quickly began taking over the underground scene in Chicago. Weeks later, Duck released his first music video titled Wild Out. In the song, he disses E-Day. E-Day, who is 5 years older than Duck, didn't waste any time responding. Days later, he released F the Other Side, dissing both Duck and Billionaire Black. This made Duck both upset and happy. He ran to Billy's house early in the morning to tell him the news. Days after E-Day released F the Other Side, Duck and Billy dropped drill classic E-Day Is You Serious. These videos attracted a lot of attention in Chicago. This was the beginning of drill music. Duck and E-Day were dissing each other on wax. It became something like a sport. The young gang members began taunting each other in videos and on social media. More shootings began taking place in the city as well. Duck had allegedly shot up 600's block for days straight with Billy's gun. According to Duck, 600 members couldn't even go to the store that was located on their own turf. While recording his infamous freestyle song at DJ Ken's studio, Duck and other FBG members runs into Chief Keef and several Blackgate members. At that time, the tension between STL and Wick City wasn't as intense. Duck and Chief Keef actually talked at the studio. That same month, Chief Keef and Lil Reese released In This B. In the video, you see a bunch of young gang members flashing around guns. You could feel the evil and the realness when you watched the video. People such as BJ and Odee Perry are seen in the video throwing up gang signs. In This B became Chief Keef's biggest song at the time. The 15-year-old was on his way to the top. The following month, Chief Keef released the song that changed everything. Bang quickly became the biggest underground rap song in Chicago. After reaching millions of views in only weeks, it was clear that Chief Keef was about to make it big. Days after Bang was released, Duck decided to shoot the music video to his freestyle song on Tuka's birthday. The deceased teen would have turned 16 years old. It started off a good evening. STL, EBT, Jaro City, and Mob all came out to celebrate. After shooting the video, the gangs decided to go over to Parkway Gardens. Most likely someone spotted Odee and made the call. At around 11:35 p.m., 20-year-old Odee was shot and later died at the hospital. Now the biggest question in the history of drill is, who killed Odee Perry? Well, after doing some deep digging and talking to a few insiders, Odee Perry's killer is allegedly Butter. Some even say that Duck was the getaway driver, but there's no evidence to support that statement. The night Odee Perry was killed, a car, what looked to be the car from the video Duck was in earlier that day, is caught on surveillance video leaving from the scene where Odee was killed moments after the shooting. The person driving the vehicle is clearly wearing an orange-pink color shirt. Even if that is Duck behind the wheel, there's no evidence that he was the getaway driver that night. Most likely, Duck was there when the murder occurred. His name has been associated with Odee's death from the start. I was told by a few people that Duck had witnessed many murders in his short life.
Life's hard, the world's dark. Remember the good days at the park. Times were good, the love was there. Back then everyone was treated fair. Holidays, family time, so many people were still alive. I don't know what happened now, these people don't look happy. Back in the day, we were family, it was all love. I felt it all around me, but now everyone changed. You'll never be how it was back in the day. Now it make me cry. Too many times. Ooh, made me cry too many times.
According to my sources, Wick City members knew about Butter's involvement in Odee's murder and they tried to kill him for years. After Odee's death, Wick City was renamed O Block to honor their deceased friend. This is when many 300 members went at STL, EBT and Jaro City non-stop. Doing my research on the war in Woodlawn, I couldn't help but to notice that Butter was a huge target. For example, that time when Fredo Santana, Lil Reese and Chief Keef had allegedly came to Rhodes and shot up the block, specifically shooting Butter. Keep in mind this was right after Odee Perry's death. Now ask yourself this, what would make Chief Keef, who was becoming the biggest rap artist in the city, Lil Reese, who's from Lamron, and Juelz Santana, who is from Front Street, all go to Jaro City's territory and shoot up the block, specifically shooting Butter? All I can say is 1 + 1 = 2. To make things worse, just hours after Odee was shot, FBG Duck's freestyle video was released on YouTube. Duck knew that the video would get hundreds, thousands of views due to the controversy. The freestyle video turned out to be one of the darkest drill videos in history. This is when Duck became a huge target. After Odee Perry's death, more bodies began dropping in the streets. STL took credit for the hit. After Seaball went to jail in May of 2011 for aggravated battery with a firearm, STL was basically led by Dutchie and Duck. STL only had a few guns at the time, so it was impossible for them to protect their turf. Even in the middle of the war, Duck still only wanted to fight his ops. He didn't want to end up in prison for murder. Although Duck only wanted to fight, he understood that guns were needed. In November of that year, Duck would lose another close friend. Tutu, who claimed Gyro City had allegedly just left Duck's house the night he was killed. His body wouldn't be found until the following day. 600 took credit for this hit. Tay, who was a member of 600 at the time, even had allegedly called Duck and told him about Tutu being dead before the body was even found. The following month, STL take another loss when 16-year-old Dale Fisher was shot and killed. Allegedly by T-Roy, Dale was allegedly T-Roy's first body. T-Roy became O-Block's top shooter. In January of 2012, Chief Keef released another huge local hit. 3 Hun Na reached millions of views in only days. In the song, he dissed the whole Tuka gang. Again, ask yourself this: what made the young rapper diss STL specifically in the song? This made Duck and the other STL rappers work harder in the studio. The Flyboy gang was now officially formed. Young became FBG number 1, Dutchie became FBG number 2, Duck became number 3, Billionaire Black became number 4, Brick became number 30, and King Lil J became number 00. Around this time, Young's older brother Cash was released from prison and later became FBG number 63. Each member but Billionaire Black added the letters FBG before their names. Young's father Manny became the group's manager and even planned to start a record label. Manny was a well-known hustler and allegedly a well-respected gangster disciple. Duck looked at Manny as a father figure. He trusted, respected, and loved Manny. Not too many of Young and Cash's friends had a father in their lives. Manny gave them a lot of knowledge about the streets. He planted in Young, Cash, Dutchie, and Duck's heads to play chess, not checkers. In the beginning, Manny only wanted Young, Dutchie, Duck, and Billionaire Black to rap, and he wanted people like King Lil J and Butter to be the group's muscle. King Lil J didn't only want it to be a crash out for FBG, so he began putting out music as well. In April of 2012, a new local rapper comes onto the scene and takes drill music to another level. 18-year-old Joseph Coleman, also known as Lil Jojo, was ready to fire back at Lil Durk after Lil Durk dissed his gang Brick Squad in L's anthem a month prior. Jojo wanted Young to be featured on the song titled BDK, meaning Black Disciple Killer. Although this song would have taken Young and the Flyboy gang to another level, it could have also gotten him killed. Young decided not to be on the song thanks to his brother Cash. Days later, Jojo shoots the BDK video. BDK is one of the darkest videos in the history of drill. It gave people goosebumps watching it. This was many people, introduction to drill music. The BDK song made Chief Keef twice as big. By the summer of that year, he was signed to Interscope Records and the biggest rapper in Chicago. In August of 2012, Duck was stabbed in the stomach by his ex-girlfriend Corey after smacking her. Duck wanted a gun to shoot her, but Brick refused to give it to him. Duck was rushed to the hospital and Corey ran towards Parkway Gardens. She was later arrested, but Duck refused to go on with the charges. Corey was allegedly dating Duck and O-Block member Trey 5 at the same time. This situation itself caused a lot of confusion. Trey 5 had allegedly wanted Duck out of the picture to have Corey to himself. What made things worse was that Trey 5 and his family lived in STL's territory. While Duck was trying to be a rap star, Brick was in the street sliding. Remember when I said that Brick was a new face in the neighborhood and had to earn his respect? Well, it didn't take him long. Brick was sliding with STL, EBT and Gyro City. He wanted to show them that he was a frontline soldier. One day, while sliding with a few young Gyro City members, Brick finally gets tested. One of the Jaro City members had asked Brick to see his gun while they were lurking outside of Parkway Gardens. Brick lets the young Jaro City member see the gun, only to get it pointed to his head. The young Jaro City member made Brick walk off. It wouldn't be long before Brick get his revenge. The young Jaro City member who robbed Brick for the gun was later shot and almost killed. Brick also broke another Jaro City member's jaw. That's all it took for Brick to be respected in the neighborhood. This started a small war between STL and Jaro City. Duck and Lil Jojo became friends and planned to work together. Jojo brought many of the young gangster disciples' gangs together by throwing wild BDK parties. They called it BDK Friday. For months, Lil Jojo went at the whole 300 gang, especially the Lamron fraction. Lil Jojo trolled Lil Reese and even allegedly chased him down in traffic one time. Lil Jojo was quickly becoming a star, and it was a good time to do it because people like Lil Durk and Chief Keef didn't have the power to blackball the GD rappers. Unfortunately, Lil Jojo didn't get to reach his full potential. On September 4th, 2012, he was shot and killed in his neighborhood.
Chicago rapper Chief Keef will stay out of jail despite prosecutors' attempts to put him behind bars for his own safety. Keef, whose real name is Keith Cozart, appeared in juvenile court yesterday. Cook County prosecutors say he violated probation in a gun case and asked the judge to put him in juvenile detention. Now, they fear Keef could face retribution for last month's fatal shooting of rapper Lil Jojo.
The rest of the world was now tuned in. At the time, Duck and many of the FBG members were still trying to find their way. King Lil J was up next. After Lil Jojo was killed, King Lil J laid down a verse on the BDK song. This gained him more fans and also made him an official FBG member. King Lil J was living with Duck and Lashina at the time. Lashina's place was Duck's and his crew hangout spot. Duck and Brick treated King Lil J like a brother. They shared clothes and even slept in the same bed. Lashina's house was a second home for people like Young, Dutchy, Cash, Billy, Butter, and K.I. K.I. and Duck's younger sister were best friends. The two had a lot in common. Not only did they both like females, they both enjoyed partying as well. Lashina would throw house parties for the teenagers. This kept them from being outside risking getting killed. While the Flyboy gang was in the studio working, many of their friends were getting killed in the streets. TYMB was now the least of STL's problems. O-Block and 600 was sliding every day. From April 2012 to December of 2012, 5 close friends of STL were killed, maybe even more. Things were now really serious. Believe or not, King Von and T-Roy had STL in fear. King Von became obsessed with sliding on STL and Jaro City. He allegedly did things such as call Duck to tease him about his deceased friends. One time, King Von and T-Roy even allegedly shot up Lashina's house. According to insiders, Duck was almost killed by O-Block and 600 members several times. STL now had bodies under their belt. On February 16, 2012, Bostrel and another STL member had allegedly shot and killed 19-year-old Sherrod Liggins. Sherrod is the younger brother of O-Block member C Murder. O-Block wanted Bostrel dead. After slipping a few attempts, Bostrel was ready to move and change his life. T-Roy and King Von were allegedly gunning for him daily. In November of 2012, 17-year-old Bostrel was shot and killed. This was a huge loss for STL. King Von and T-Roy joked about Bostrel's death on social media. They basically took credit for the hit. STL finally caught a break when Von had got arrested on November 21st of that year for unlawful possession of a firearm. For the next 14 months, King Von was out of the picture. With Von gone, T-Roy became less active. Duck and the rest of the FBG crew got back to work. Brick was now back in jail for possession of weapons. The night 13-year-old Tycon Tyler was killed, Brick allegedly took Wooski and Swiper's guns and went out looking for Nate from Jaro City. After Brick shot a young Jaro City member, almost killing him, Nate and a few other older Jaro City members wanted revenge. Instead of walking up on Brick, Nate decided to try to shoot Brick from a distance, but the bullet struck Tycoon. Brick had a $7,500 bond, but could no one come up with the money. So Brick was forced to sit in jail for 4 years and 2 months. "2013 was a huge year for drill music. Chief Keef, Lil Reese and Lil Durk were all signed to major record labels. Lil Durk and Lil Reese had signed to Def Jam, and Chief Keef had signed a deal with Interscope. 2 new up-and-coming black disciple rappers were about to take over the drill scene. Rondo No. 9 and L.A. Capone from 600 both started off on fire. Being co-signed by Lil Durk made the 2 young rappers stars quickly. Sadly, in September of that year, L.A. Capone was shot and killed, and Rondo No. 9 was arrested for murder the following year. Duck, Billionaire Black, and King Lil J then took over the underground drill scene. Although they were the underdogs, their videos were still getting millions of views. In September of 2013, FBG Duck became a household name in the drill world when he released drill classic Right Now. Right Now gained Duck millions of fans. Everyone thought he was about to get signed. But unfortunately, Chief Keef, Lil Reese and Lil Durk had allegedly prevented that from happening. This was heartbreaking for a 19-year-old Duck. Duck was forced to stay in the streets where the war was taking place. After being shot at numerous times, he would eventually get shot twice in the leg in 2 separate incidents. The first time allegedly by 600 and the second time allegedly by T-Roy. Going to war with O-Block made STL famous. Fans knew they were Chief Keef's, Lil Reese's and Lil Durk's ops. And the fans also knew that there was a real war going on in Chicago. TYMB and EBT had both basically disappeared from the war. It was now all about STL, Jaro City, O-Block, Mob, and 600. Duck, Billionaire, Black and King Lil J kept FBG relevant for the next few years. Young, Dutchy and Cash were all still basically unknown. Around this time, the Flyboy gang was doing shows and making money from merchandise. Manny, with the help of Swiper, appeared to be doing a decent job managing the group. Swiper even used his connections to get the FBG song played on a Chicago radio station. But it wouldn't be long before King Lil J and Billionaire Black were both ready to do their own thing. Billionaire Black had his own plans from the beginning. He never really wanted to be in a group. And King Lil J allegedly didn't trust Manny, so he did things such as steal money from fans and even feature money from other artists. Manny and Young allegedly didn't want King Lil J around until King Lil J became a trending Chicago rapper. But by that time, it was too late. King Lil J no longer needed the Flyboy gang. He was now making money and could pay for his own studio time and videos. His right-hand man became none other than FBG Butter. Duck and King Lil J's friendship wasn't the same. Although the two were still close, Duck no longer wanted King Lil J in the group. According to Duck, King Lil J couldn't be trusted. Butter would end up having a baby with Duck's younger sister. Duck was upset that Butter went behind his back and slept with his sister. One day, Duck was about to fight Butter, but Butter ran home and got his gun. Duck really loved Butter. Not only did he knew that Butter had his back in the streets, Duck knew that Butter would have killed for him as well. Believe it or not, FBG Butter was feared by many of the youngsters in the neighborhood. He was known to be a shooter and a good fighter. By 2014, drill music was trending more than trap music. Many NYC up-and-coming rappers were changing their style to drill. One in particular was 17-year-old Bobby Shmurda. In February of 2014, King Von was released from jail and allegedly had plans to take out anyone from STL. Sliding on STL was easy for Von. He knew they wasn't organized, and he knew they didn't have many steppers. At the time, STL and EBT's top stepper was Rasen Shaw, also known as Lil B. Many say that Lil B is the reason not many EBT members weren't killed during the war. Even T-Roy and King Von had to worry about Lil B. Just 1 year prior, Lil B allegedly killed J Money from O-Block. There aren't even stories of Lil B getting shot at by his ops. According to many people, Lil B was the most feared person in the neighborhood, but unfortunately, Lil B was shot and killed by Chicago police on March 29th. This was another huge loss for STL and EBT. Just days later, tragedy struck once again. It was a deceased Bostrell's birthday. He would have been turning 19 years old. Duck was ready to go to the studio and record a tribute song for his deceased friend. It started off as a good day. Everyone was outside, hanging out celebrating Bostrell's birthday. While Duck was waiting to be picked up by Manny to go to the studio, K.I., Butter, and Cray Cray from EBT were hanging out on Eberhart. K.I. and Cray Cray were shooting dice, and Butter was on his cell phone when Manny and Swiper drove past. Swiper allegedly seen King Von and T-Roy coming to ambush Butter and K.I. Before Swiper got a chance to warn them, gunshots erupted. K.I. was shot multiple times and Butter was shot in the leg but still managed to escape. Another man was shot as well. When Duck and others made it down the street, K.I. was sitting up on the porch step rocking back and forth. She was shot in the chest, jaw and neck. Duck, Young, Manny, Swiper, Cray Cray, and many others basically watched K.I. die. It gave a lot of them nightmares for years. The police were so angry that they blamed Duck for K.I. getting shot and even arrested him. Manny defended Duck as if Duck was his son. He refused to let Duck go to jail for no reason at all. So he got into it with the police, almost getting arrested himself. Luckily, the police uncuffed Duck and didn't arrest Manny. Keep in mind that this was days after Lil B was killed by the cops. 17-year-old Gakira Barnes was later pronounced dead. This was a very dark time for Duck and his friends, especially for Duck. Now let's rewind it back to the beginning of March of 2014. Weeks before Lil B was killed, Duck's 3-year-old sister died in a fire. She was allegedly playing with a lighter and accidentally set the mattress on fire. Lashina had allegedly tried to hoist the mattress out a window, increasing the intensity of the fire. The broken window caused way more damage. It took firefighters over 30 minutes to put out the fire. This was the third child Lashina had lost. It was a really hard time for the family. In June of that year, Duck's younger cousin Brian Weekly, also known as Scrap from Mob, was killed by 600 members. Scrap had allegedly murdered Lil Steve from 603 years prior. Duck and Scrap were close. Their relationship is what made Mob and STL allies. For the next few years, Duck and the Flyboy gang continued to develop. Duck was now surviving on shows and feature money. He spent his money on clothes, guns, and drugs. Duck abused pot and was even developing a lean and pill habit. He began gaining weight and living an unhealthy lifestyle. In November of 2016, Duck released another big single. Hell Yeah was another song that should have gotten Duck a record deal. But for some reason, labels still didn't reach out to the 22-year-old rapper. While his ops were enjoying the fruits of their labor, Duck was working just as hard, but was stuck on 63rd and St. Lawrence. Brick was released from jail in August of that year. This made Duck even stronger. He now had his older brother back around to watch his back. 2017 was probably the most deadly year in the history of drill. It all started on Valentine's Day of that year when O Block member T-Roy was shot and killed inside of a nearby convenience store. King Von was now in jail fighting a murder charge. He was upset about T-Roy's death and wanted the Get Back gang to get revenge. A few of T-Roy's rich friends had allegedly donated guns to the Get Back gang, which made them more dangerous. It was no longer safe for STL and Taekwon World to be outside. A month after T-Roy was killed, Duck did an interview with Zack TV. As you can see, this video was filmed inside. Zack TV knew what was going on in the streets. Just 2 months later, Zack TV came back to do another interview, but this time it took place outside. In the interview, Duck talked tough taunting his ops. This is when Can't Get Right was looked at as Duck's muscle to the fans. It was clear that Zack TV was nervous and in a rush to leave. Around this time, Brick was living in Vegas. He came back and forth to Chicago to visit family. Just like many of the gang members in Chicago, Brick began trolling his ops on social media. In the summer of 2017, the Get Back gang went on a killing spree, and it wasn't safe to be outside. Even before the Get Back gang killed Poppy from Taekwon World, they had allegedly shot at Duck, almost killing him. 1 month after killing Poppy, the Get Back gang kills Brick and his cousin Colby. Duck wanted revenge for his brother and cousin, and Lashina knew it. She cried and told Duck that she needed him. Duck understood that his mother couldn't take losing another child to death or prison. Brick was the 4th child that Lashina lost. According to Lashina, Brick was set up by a few Jaro City members. This is when Duck began distancing himself from many people. His family was now the only people he could trust. TB blamed himself for Brick's death. He felt that he should have been there the day Brick was killed. Many say that TB wasn't the same after Brick was killed. He allegedly walked around with a Bible talking to himself. The following month, TB was shot and killed by the Get Back gang. This was one of the worst murders in Chicago history. TB was shot a bunch of times in the head and body. All this death made Duck work harder. In November of that year, Duck released Drill Classic Gang Anthem. Gang Anthem was another huge song by Duck and was also the drill song of the year. Weeks later, HK was killed in Parkway Gardens by a civilian who he allegedly tried to rob with members of 600. Many believe that this is what later sparked the beef between O Block and 600. O Block members believe that 600 left HK in the building that day. This was a huge win for STL. Although they didn't have anything to do with HK's death, many people gave them the credit. Either way, STL didn't have long to celebrate because weeks later, King Von was released from jail. Duck allegedly had money on King Von's head. According to King Von, the first thing he did when he got out of jail was get a gun because people had money on his head. Both King Lil J and Butter was now serving time for murder. Billionaire Black was doing his own thing, and Young, Dutchy and Cash followed Duck. And in January of 2018, Duck released the biggest song of his career. Slide had become an instant hit, and it changed FBG Duck's life. The video reached over 10 million views in only days. Duck was now a rap star. The world now knew who he was. While Slide was becoming a huge hit, Wooski was becoming a star as well. He had released Computers dissing O Block 600 TYMB and other 300 affiliates. Just like Slide, Computers reached millions of views in only days. Wooski had a lot of street credibility, known for putting in a lot of work. Fans knew about Wooski before hearing him rap. They looked at him as a frontline soldier for Tuka Gang. 2018 was a huge year for Duck and the Flyboy Gang. Duck would later sign a deal with Sony and began living a better life. Clout Boys Entertainment was allegedly started by Manny and Young back in 2012. When Duck signed his record deal, it was allegedly through Clout Boys Entertainment. According to Lashina, Sony signed Clout Boys Entertainment for $375,000, and Duck only received $150,000 for the deal. After buying clothes, jewelry, cars, and helping family and friends, the money was basically gone. This allegedly caused tension between Duck and Manny. In August of 2018, Young released his first solo independent album titled Go Dumb. The album was produced by Malcolm Flex. Many fans didn't understand how Young's album was released before Duck's. Unfortunately, Go Dumb was a complete failure. The album didn't attract many fans, even with a top-dollar video. Manny and Young had allegedly used the money from Duck's Sony deal to fund the Go Dumb album, but things would soon backfire. Duck didn't tell Lashina much about his record deal, but she still sensed that something wasn't right. Clout Boys Approved is allegedly both Young's and Manny's YouTube channel that was started back in December of 2014. The channel has reached over 70 million views. 41 million of those views comes from Wooski's Computers remix video. According to many people, Wooski was never paid for the hit song. King Von was slowly stealing the spotlight from the Flyboy Gang. After Can't Get Right and Dooski the Man was killed, and after Wooski was shot in the head, King Von became the #1 drill rapper in the world. Fans understood that this was as real as it gets. In 2019, King Von and Memo 600 dissed Duck, Wooski, 051 Young Money and Mob in Exposing Me. The following month, Duck and his cousin Ruger struck back even harder with Exposing Me remix. 2019 was another huge year for drill music, and King Von was on top. O-Block and 600 was twice as strong. They had more money and more guns. Duck and King Von spent most of 2019 going back and forth making diss songs. This around the time Duck and Yarma Williams, also known as Melly, were hanging close. Melly was a respected member of 051 Young Money. Like I said earlier in the documentary, Duck always had a close relationship with 051 Young Money. Although his close friend Billionaire Black have always had problems with Young Money, Duck still had love for them. Melly was known to be a stone-cold killer. He allegedly had 9 to 10 bodies and even allegedly murdered Duck's cousin, THF Raheem. Duck and Melly together was a slap to Lil Durk's face. Melly had allegedly murdered both Lil Durk's cousin Newski and manager Chino. He even allegedly shot Lil Durk's older brother D Thang. Melly had Lil Durk in fear. The day Newski was killed, Durk was allegedly the intended target. Fans looked at Melly as Duck's enforcer. Can't Get Right was now out of the picture. Some even claimed that he was killed by Melly, but that may be false information. According to a few insiders, Can't Get Right was killed by O-Block. Duck looked at Can't Get Right as a little homie. He wasn't taken seriously by STL, EBT, nor Jaro City. They allegedly teased him daily and even bossed him around. No matter what, Duck loved Can't Get Right and was sad when he was killed. The same day Can't Get Right was killed, Duck was allegedly shot as well by the Get Pack gang, but was released from the hospital hours later. Although Duck wasn't rich, he was still very powerful in Chicago. Him getting shot made his whole side look weak, so it was important to hide it from the world. And it was also important to keep Sony and other record labels from hearing about it. On September 1st, 2019, 27-year-old Yarma Williams, known as Melly, was shot and killed at a Jaro City's house party by a member of Taekwon World. Duck had warned Melly not to attend the party. Not only was this a major loss for 051 Young Money, but it was a huge loss for Duck as well. Melly gave him the look he needed as a leader. STL didn't have any steppers on Melly's level. Butter was now home and being accused of snitching on King Lil J on their murder case. In December of 2019, Duck released Chicago Legends hoping to make peace, and at the same time hoping for another huge hit. Chicago Legends didn't do much for Duck's rap career. The song even disappointed many fans. Once you're a drill rapper, it's really hard to cross over. Drill fans only want to hear violent diss songs. Just 2 months after Duck released Chicago Legends, King Von released another huge diss song. Take Her to the O may be the biggest diss song in the history of drill. In the song, Von called Duck out by name and mentions his deceased brother Brick. Von had an actor play Duck in the video and is seen killing him. The video quickly went viral. The following month, Duck replied with I'm from 63rd. I'm from 63rd didn't get nowhere as many views as Take Her to the O. O-Block was now on top and STL was looking weak. Being from 63rd and St. Lawrence was now a worldwide joke, and Duck didn't take this well. For years, Duck wanted people like Lil Durk and Chief Keef to say his name in a song instead of sneak dissing. King Von understood that the fans loved hearing him dissing Duck. Not only was King Von a known killer, he was a true MC. His storytelling ability made him stand out more than other drill rappers, and it gave him an advantage over Duck. Duck was a good rapper who had multiple styles. He loved singing and using auto-tune. Duck had many hit songs recorded, but the rap battle against Von wasn't over. In July of 2020, Duck released one of the most disrespectful diss songs in drill history. the Dead Bees video had instantly reached millions of views. In the song, Duck dissed many of O Block's and 600's deceased members. It was a dark and gritty song. Many of Duck's family members and friends didn't want him to release it. They knew that this song would cause more problems in the streets. In Take Her to the O, King Von didn't diss the dead. He only told a fiction story that was funny and creative. That's what hip-hop is about. Duck, on the other hand, had taken it too far. Duck now had 4 children and was in a relationship with a female by the name of Cache Williams. Before dating Cache, Duck dated a woman by the name of Datisha for 3 years. Datisha is the baby mother of TZ from THF46. TZ didn't like Duck dating his baby mother. Like I said earlier in the documentary, Duck didn't have any problems with THF46. Lashina was even friends with several of the older members. But after Duck's cousin THF Rahim was killed, Bezu from THF46 made sure that Duck was safe at the funeral. Bezu was in a serious relationship with Duck's aunt. After signing a bad deal with Sony, Duck had allegedly reached out to J Prince at Rap-A-Lot Records to help him get out of the deal. If Duck would have signed to Rap-A-Lot, it would have taken him to the next level indeed. But unfortunately, weeks later, Duck would meet his untimely fate. After Duck released Dead Bees back in July of that year, King Von had allegedly placed a $100,000 bounty on Duck's life. Both O Block and 600 were upset about the song. People such as J Money, Lil Boo, D Thang, She-Royd, Lil Steve and T-Roy were all loved members of O Block and 600. For a whole decade, Duck and Von hated each other. The both of them lost many friends in the war. King Von knew that killing Duck would make his reputation even stronger in the rap game. He had a team of killers under him who were prepared to crash out for him. On August 4th, 2020, Duck went to Lashina's house to hang out. It was his deceased grandmother's birthday. The family had planned to get together to celebrate. Duck enjoyed playing cards with family. While laying on the floor smoking, Duck decided to go shopping and buy his son a birthday gift. People in the house tried to come along to watch his back, but for some reason, Duck told them to stay there. Lashina and Duck's sister were out getting a pregnancy test. That day, they found out that Duck's sister was once again pregnant by Butter. Unfortunately, Duck never got the news. After leaving Lashina's house, Duck gets dropped off at a KFC restaurant and gets in the car with Cache and a guy by the name of Dav and Bryson. The three then headed to the Gold Coast neighborhood. Bryson was allegedly there to watch Duck's back while he shops. While Duck and Bryson were in a store browsing, Cache sat in her car with Duck's gun. Members of THF46 were just so happening to be shopping at the same store as Duck. TZ spots Duck and quickly leaves the store. He goes inside another store to make calls on his cell phone. The security guard who gave TZ a mask to wear thought that he was planning on robbing the store because he overheard him talking about a gun. The security guard then pulls out his cell phone to record TZ. TZ called someone looking for Lil Durk's brother D Thang's number. Him and D Thang were allegedly friends. TZ knew that there was a bounty on Duck's life. Although there was allegedly $100,000 involved, TZ didn't want any of the money. He was still mad at Duck for dating his baby mother months prior. TZ lied to get the shooters there faster. He told the person on the phone that Duck and others were threatening to kill him outside the store. Within minutes, O Block members were on the way in 2 vehicles. At around 4:21 p.m., Duck and Brinson were waiting in line outside the Dolce & Gabbana store. At around 4:26 p.m., the O Block members pulls up and 2 people hops out of each vehicle. While Duck was getting gunned down, Cache picks up Duck's gun and proceeds firing shots from out the window. After the O Block members fled the scene, Cache gets out of the car to see both Duck and Brinson on the ground shot. That's when she realized she herself was shot also. Cache was hit twice in the wrist. Duck was shot 16 times. Teasy stood across the street and recorded the whole thing. Duck was transported to the hospital where he was pronounced dead at 5 p.m. He was 26 years old. To the fans, this was the end of the war. But in Chicago, the war was only about to get worse. For weeks straight, CPD watched O Block closely, fearing a retaliation from the other side. From the beginning, they knew that O Block was involved in Duck's murder. After Duck's death, people such as Billionaire Black, Ruger, and even King Lil J, when he was released from jail, immediately went at the ops on wax. Other FBG members such as Dutchie, Young, and Cash didn't react how the fans expected them to. Young and Cash were even being accused of backdooring Duck by many fans. And Lashina only made things worse when she accused Manny of stealing money from Duck. Manny refused to help pay for Duck's funeral after Young and Cash wasn't invited. Things wasn't looking good for the Flyboy gang. Lashina even allegedly had Manny's house shot up. Their relationship was never the same. According to Lashina, she now owns the copyright to all of Duck's music. Her and her son started Big Clout Records back in 2020 and signed several of up-and-coming artists.
Members of Chicago's O Block gang have been convicted in the 2020 murder of a rapper known as FBG Duck. Duck's real name was Carlton Weekly. He was shot and killed shopping on Oak Street in the Gold Coast. The Tribune reports it took the jury 2 days to arrive at a verdict. The 6 convicted suspects are men between the ages of 24 and 34. All 6 were convicted of conspiracy to commit murder and murder in the aid of racketeering. 5 of them were also convicted of using a gun when Weekly was shot. Prosecutors say the men targeted Weekly as part of a long-running gang dispute.
I go home and tell my grandkids that their father, justice has been served. That's gonna be a big burden lifted off my shoulders.
Lashina is one of the strongest mothers on this planet. She lost not 1, but 5 children. 2 to gun violence in only 3 years. She went from being a crack addict to being the backbone of the family like her grandmother was before she died. FBG Duck is definitely on the drill Mount Rushmore. When he was killed, a huge part of drill music died along with him. The feeling was never the same. Not only is FBG Duck a drill legend, but he's a Chicago legend as well. Well, that was the dark story of FBG Duck. Thank you for watching Dark Hood Tales. Good night, see you next time. Be sure to like and subscribe to check out more episodes.